Urgent warning has been issued to people in Manchester seeking cosmetic procedures, including Brazilian butt lifts and breast augmentation. Amid fears, unregulated surgery is taking place in local hotel rooms.
Manchester City Council said on Wednesday that procedures may be taking place this week in non-clinical settings in the city. We can take a brief look at what these surgeries involve. Non-surgical Brazilian butt lifts, or BBLs, sees hyaluronic acid injected into the buttocks to manipulate their size and shape.
BBL surgery has the highest death rate of all cosmetic procedures. That's according to the NHS. The main concern being the injected fat can cause a blockage in a blood vessel in the lungs, which could be fatal. In the UK, a surgical fat transfer usually costs between £3,000 to £8,000 plus possible aftercare treatment. Non-surgical procedure could cost around £2,000.
Let's talk to Ashton, who's the director of Safe Face, which is a national government-approved register of accredited non-surgical treatment practitioners. Good morning to you. Thank you so much, Ashton, for joining us here on Breakfast. Do you know, I think one of the things is when people think cosmetic surgery, they think knife, right, going under the knife. Some of these procedures are billed as, you know, non-surgical. Is that true?
Well, these treatments involving hyaluronic acid injections into the buttocks technically are non-surgical, and they are being promoted on social media and across the internet as risk-free, cheaper alternatives to the fat transfer BBLs, which we all know carry an extremely high mortality rate. But the fact that they're not risk-free and in the long run, they're not cheaper either. I mean, the consequences of these treatments are severe, and we've had over 500 people who've come forward who have had disastrous experiences, terrible outcomes. 50% of those people have ended up in hospital with sepsis, so they are far from risk-free.
I'm really keen to kind of know what is involved, because if it's a trend and people are seeing, you know, body shapes and thinking, I want to look like this, it's easily done. What exactly is involved? The stuff is injected with filler, or in each buttock, because they're in the buttocks, they're injected deep in, right? And then you sit on your butt. So how does that work?
Exactly. Yeah, so what happens is to achieve the type of look that these people tend to want, these big, shapely bums, 500 or 600 mils of hyaluronic acid dermal filler are injected into each buttocks. And like you said, you know, you sit on your bottom most of the day. A lot of people have office jobs, and that filler can migrate. So even if you don't have a complication, which is extremely high risk with these treatments, like sepsis, vascular occlusions, all of those things are very high risk with these treatments, you're likely to end up with not a great outcome either, because the filler isn't stable and it can move around. And so we've had people where the filler is transferred to their thighs and has moved up towards their back areas. So even if you're lucky enough to escape having a complication, you're likely to be left with an unwanted outcome that can last 2 years or more.
OK, yeah, because it takes that time for it to dissolve, doesn't it? However, there is the flip side. If you want this surgery, you are entitled to have this surgery. If you are convinced this is going to improve your headspace, your happiness, how should you go about it? Who should you be talking to?
The only way to mitigate risks, and not entirely, I mean, even in the safest surgical plastic surgery hands, these treatments carry a great deal of risk, which is why a lot of medical professionals will not offer this treatment. But if you are wanting it, it's vitally important that you seek out a plastic surgeon that can do it in a safe clinical setting, because we're seeing all sorts of things being carried out in people's homes, in hotel rooms. It's just awful what's going on at the moment.
OK, so all independent clinics and hospitals which provide cosmetic surgery in England must be registered with the Care Quality Commission, CQC, and because that publishes inspection reports, performance ratings, so you can choose like that. And it should be done, research should be done on the surgeon as well, because the fact is it's all very well us sitting here going, look at all the risks and look at the horror stories, but there are people who are doing this. So if people are going to do this and it's not illegal, we need to make sure that they're able to have the correct information to do it safely.
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, because all of those 500 people that I mentioned earlier, they've all had treatments with non-healthcare professionals in non-clinical settings. And obviously, with that combination of factors, the likelihood of you experiencing something go wrong is extremely higher than if you were to seek out a reputable healthcare professional operated in a clinical setting.
It's quite unusual, isn't it, to hear of a council say this is happening, you know, under its watch or in its region, and this is happening under non-clinical settings. It's quite useful in some ways.
Yeah, it's extremely useful, and we are very thankful to councils who, like Manchester, who are taking a proactive approach to this, because we're actually campaigning for this treatment to be banned from the high street. That's how risky it is, and we fear it's only a matter of time before somebody loses their life due to one of these providers.
Ashton Collins, Director of Safe Face, thank you so much for your time with us here on BBC Breakfast.
We should say if you've had or been offered cosmetic surgery in a non-medical setting, we'd be keen to hear about that experience. Send us a message. All the usual ways, as you can see on the screen now.
Oh, well, you will see it on the screen. Oh, well, there you go.